Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today I'm joined by mayors and county supervisors from around the state. To my right is Mayor Jen Daniels from Gilbert, Kevin Hartke, Mayor of Chandler, Jen Miles, Mayor of Kingman, Russell McLeod, County Supervisor, Yuma County, Kathy Carlett, over to my left, is the Mayor of City of Peoria, Tom Murphy, Mayor of Sorita, Christian Price, Mayor of Maricopa, and of course Greg Mangranelli, Mayor of Prescott. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for making the trip. In recent weeks, my team and I have met with mayors and local leaders from all over Arizona to discuss the pressing needs we face during the public health crisis. I want to thank all our local leaders who are here today for their input, their dedication, and their leadership during this time. They've been the key to protecting public health, restarting our economy, and making sure that Arizona returns stronger, which is among all of our objectives. Our largest cities, towns, and municipalities have already received relief from the Federal CARES Act, but smaller cities and counties, including rural communities, have not. In the governor's office, we've heard concerns from mayors and supervisors. We've listened, and today we're acting. With the help of the Federal CARES Act, Arizona is establishing the AZ CARES Fund. This fund will be used to provide over $440 million to every city, town, and county that has not received federal funding. Our priority with these dollars was to maximize flexibility and to minimize red tape, while getting them where they're needed quickly and efficiently. And I think you'll find that this plan does exactly that. We also wanted to adhere to the golden rule: treat others as you yourself would like to be treated. I don't like it when the federal government makes governors stand in line and beg, "Mother, may I?" And I don't want to do that to our local leaders either. So we've designed this plan with maximum flexibility. But we didn't want to stop there. Many local governments, nonprofit hospitals, schools, tribal nations, and more have taken on additional coronavirus-related expenses that are eligible for reimbursement from the federal government. The problem is these reimbursements can take weeks, months, or even longer to happen. So we've established the Arizona Express Pay program and set aside $150 million for it. These dollars will be used to expedite reimbursements for things like PPE purchases, acquiring testing supplies, and providing assistance to those in need. Our team at the Department of Emergency and Military Affairs, led by Major General Mick McGuire, will oversee this program and work directly with local governments to process dollars faster. The Express Pay program will be made available to local governments, tribal communities, state agencies, nonprofit hospitals, nonprofit long-term care, skilled nursing, assisted living providers, school districts, charter school organizations, and fire districts. We focused on three key priorities for Arizona's recovery efforts with these funds. One, and top priority, is, of course, supporting public health by slowing the spread of COVID-19 and caring for those who are sick. Two, reviving Arizona's state economy and strengthening Arizona's social safety net with sustained funding for unemployment and health benefits. And three, identifying targeted needs that will mitigate the impact of COVID-19 across the state. Organizations that have questions about this can find details and apply at arizonatogether.org. Now I'd like to go around the room and hear from our local leaders about how these resources will impact their communities. If we can start with Mayor Daniels. I know that all of us have our fair share of challenges, but talk about how you'll apply these dollars in Gilbert, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Governor. And as sitting with my fellow governors and local leaders, I appreciate the leadership that each of you have brought to the table. I especially am grateful for the chance that we had over the last week to communicate with you directly, Governor, and along the way with your entire staff who've been just outstanding for all of us. So thank you. I was so grateful for the listening ear that you brought to that table and for the flexibility that you've built into this plan, which creates a tremendous opportunity for us, not just in Gilbert, but we are an economic ecosystem that all works really closely together, and how important it is that we continue to see the investment in Arizona. This is really all about Arizona's future. And so I'm really excited about the chance that we'll have to utilize these dollars to enhance public safety opportunities in my community, and also to make sure that our businesses and our families have exactly what they need during a time of crisis. And that includes today, but also preparations for the future.
Thanks so much, Mayor Daniels. And speaking of that economic ecosystem, I think that Chandler is part of that. And I want to thank all the mayors for how candid they were in terms of what would be important in this program. And I know, Mayor Hartke, that the economy was especially important to you. Talk about these dollars.
Thank you, Governor. And I'd say, like all communities, Chandler has been extremely hard hit by the pandemic. And as Arizona's fourth largest city, we were the first city on the other side of those CARES dollars that came directly from DC. But with the new case rates that diminishing, with the intact life-saving treatment capacity and the increase of testing, we believe, and we're following your lead, that it's prudent to open businesses both safely and responsibly. So with our business community and our chambers, we're committed to doing so. We believe that these dollars will be a boost in the arm to further some of the programs that we've already started, and to see how we can continue to boost consumer credibility. Just last week, we opened an area in our downtown called Dine in the Park that gives patrons the opportunity to take out food, and in concert with the executive order that you issued that also will allow takeout beer and wine, that we've opened this area to increase the stay safe and the social distancing guidelines that will allow each of the restaurants and partakers to really extend their restaurant. So, and we found people quite responsible, which is what we find in Arizona for the most part, is people want to be safe and want to do these things. So we're hosting job fairs, we're looking at other things, and tomorrow I'll be asking our city manager to work with council and come up with a plan to help us plan what to do with these dollars. So these CARE dollars will allow Chandler to implement further measures to get our businesses on our feet. So again, I want to thank you for responsibly opening up Arizona, that we can open up Chandler and our community.
Thanks so much, Kevin. I really appreciate it and look forward to seeing the continuing success in both Chandler and Gilbert. And I think the mayor that traveled the longest distance to come here today is Mayor Jen Miles from the city of Kingman. And I know how important tourism is to Kingman and all of Mojave County. How are these dollars going to help, Mayor?
Well, thank you, Governor. First, I want to thank you for your leadership and for keeping such a steady course in a time of uncharted waters. Also, thank you for listening to the mayors and to the supervisors as you decided how to structure distributing these funds to give us maximum flexibility for our cities and our counties. It's really important, because what it means to Kingman is that we are going to keep our strong, high-quality protective services, our police and fire, intact, while we are able to shift funds to re-energize tourism, which for us is critical to economic recovery. Kingman is an international tourist destination. We are the heart of the Mother Road, the 66, and with a historic downtown, and great shops, and beautiful mountains with trails and mountain bike racing. And yet, like everyone, this pandemic has stalled tourism, and our small businesses have been suffering economically. So even though our budget was contracting and we knew it, the city created a package of initiatives that is intended to jumpstart tourism and restore confidence, and directly assist our small businesses to return stronger. And this package we call the Kingman Recovery and Small Business Assistance Plan, and it includes direct grant programs for things like facade improvements, for signs and murals, technical assistance for advertising like Google audits and Facebook boosts, as well as campaigns, shop local campaigns, events. And the thing that I think we're really proud of is we have worked very hard to create a new branding strategy for Kingman. And timing is perfect to get these funds because we are going to implement the new branding strategy for Kingman. And all of these things are going to be enhanced, leveraged, and strengthened by having these funds available to us. And I want to give a shout out to our team at the City of Economic Development, our manager, as well as our partners, the chambers, the Small Business Development Center, and others. I mean, truly, at every level, city, county, state, we have been working together, talking, listening, creating solutions as we reopen safely and return stronger. And I know we will. And I just want to say I appreciate very much the thought that's gone into this and the flexibility, especially that you are giving to us as cities and communities.
Thanks so much, Mayor, and I look forward to the tourism that's going to come to Kingman this summer. I know there's going to be a lot of Arizonans that want to go on a staycation or stay in state, and if Kingman gets crowded, I don't want them to forget about Bullhead City or Lake Havasu City either.
Back on regional campaigns, I'll be part of it, and also with the Office of Tourism of the state. We are all in it together, and we really benefit from our collaborative initiatives and leadership.
Thanks so much, Mayor. And not only do we have mayors today, we also have county supervisors, and it really has been the counties and the supervisors have informed so much of the public health response that's happened across the state. You want to talk a little bit about Yuma County?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Governor. First of all, thank you for your leadership during these unprecedented times. And the maximum flexibility that you're providing is just outstanding because, as you know, all the communities, each county is going to have its own challenges. So we'll be able to shore up public safety and public health, expand testing, because we need to get the consumer confidence back. We need to be able to show that we've got this thing, under control. And I appreciate you trusting, as you have shown all along, you trust good Arizonans to do the right thing. You're also trusting your local governments to do the same thing. Instead of just parsing it out, rules or little at a time, allowing us the greatest flexibility is just outstanding. And thank you for listening and for understanding those challenges. And as you've done through the whole time, I think you put together an outstanding plan, and none of us are going to let you down. That money will be used wisely, and we thank you for that.
Thank you, Supervisor McLeod, and thanks for the way you represent Yuma County. I don't know that you had as long a drive as Jen Miles, but the priorities are just as important. So
Sure.
we're thankful that you were candid and we were able to deliver on that.
Thank you.
We know there are public health priorities no matter where the city is. And Mayor Carlett, do you want to talk about Peoria a bit?
I do want to talk about Peoria a little bit. I always want to talk about Peoria. But first I want to thank you. Really, the way that you have used a measured and moderate approach all along, trusting people to do the right thing, has been very beneficial for our city and for our residents. They always knew what they should do, how they should do it, and always felt like they had the ability to be responsible for themselves. So I really appreciate that. I would like to talk for a minute about our first response teams. We are on the ground here, boots on the ground, the first line of defense for any kind of emergency, and especially a health emergency. And we've put into effect a lot of protections for our employees and ways that they can stay safe, keep their families safe at night when they go home. And all of the things that we have done have been great for them and great for our population, but of course it's been very, very expensive. And so we need to get some of those funds back into our general fund and then in turn use some of these funds to reimburse, the expenses that we've had, but then also help our Main Street businesses. They have really taken a lot of hits. These people have, saved their whole life to to run these family businesses, and the smallest of the businesses really, I think, have been hurt the most. And now we can put some funds back into their pockets. We can do grants, we can do small loans, forgivable loans, hopefully, and they can get their employees back, and before you know it, our economy is going to be back up and healthy again. Anyone who has lived through the 2008 recession understands that anything prolonged is going to hurt, twice as much. And we're not going to have that in this case. Putting those funds back into our market as quickly as possible is going to help us recover fast. And that's what we need in the state of Arizona right now.
Thanks so much, Kathy, and I'm looking forward to the continuing growth and success in Peoria. Mayor Murphy, I know you've been innovative in Sarita on the reopening of restaurants around public health guidelines. Can you touch on that, please?
Absolutely. And first, I wanted to thank you also for your leadership. It really, it's been continual, the collaboration and the outreach, and I know this is the result of that, so really appreciate it. I feel like I represent a lot of the small towns throughout the state of Arizona, and as you know, that's the majority of our communities in the state, and both of these programs, I think, will be well used, and the flexibility and the speed, because a lot of the small communities don't have the depth within their budget to absorb or wait, as we've seen through the PPP program. That hasn't gone as quickly as we all would have liked. I'm assuming probably the FEMA reimbursements will be similar to that, so I really appreciate that. From the restaurant's perspective and the business perspective, we really we started a community conversation very, very early on, trying to hear what the restaurants and businesses needed. And one of it was really just to have one place to go and find out all of this guidance. So we brought up a website really quickly. I suspended our sign code temporarily so we could get banner signs up and those types of things. Recently, we've suspended our zoning in a lot of ways. So when the restaurants try to open at that reduced capacity, we want to grow their footprint around their building, whether it be the sidewalk, the parking lot, as our businesses are, I think is very important. And, my proclamation aligning with yours, I think created a sense of continuity and confidence that we were all saying the same thing as we continue to move forward. So our business, we have a very small economic development team. We transitioned that into a business navigation team, used some of our park and rec people. We touched every business. We require a business license in Sahuarita, but we don't charge for it. So the participation rate is very high, and we were able to touch base with all of our businesses and hear what they needed and then be able to respond to this. So I think you'd be hard-pressed to go to any other state in the United States to see something as flexible and as immediate as it is that will help us. And we're all in our budget seasons, so the timing couldn't be better, and I know you heard us and listened to us, so I really thank you.
And I appreciate you being here again, making the trip and those innovations. I mean, you're going to know your cities and counties and municipalities better than we here in the state capital. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. And someone that was very insistent on flexibility was Christian Price, the mayor of Maricopa. And you want to talk about how you're going to apply that flexibility, Mayor?
Absolutely. Thank you, Governor. Appreciate it. First off, I want to talk a little bit about how Arizona really is standing out. We talk about flexibility because in business, speed to market is everything, right? And we all know that. If you're a business owner, you know how important it is to get your goods and services out there. And we have this issue where people aren't confident enough yet, and so that's the place we're in where we're just opening up. And so one of the things that I recently had the opportunity to do is I drove across the country over Memorial Day weekend, and it was fascinating to stop in different states and hear the stories about how their state is so closed or how they don't have the ability to do things. And coming back to Arizona, it's a breath of fresh air because here we have this opening and we have this ability to say we are trying to create maximum flexibility so that we can get speed to market, the dollars to the communities, and ultimately to the businesses and people that need it most. And it is so overwhelming. So again, many thanks on our behalf to you, the governor, to the state of Arizona. It really is a standout state among states, and this flexibility means that we're going to be able to get this money into the marketplace and thereby help drive consumer confidence. Help move our economy to an upward momentum that all the other states are going to be lagging, and that once again is going to set Arizona apart in a way that no other state is. So many congratulations, and thank you for listening to us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm looking forward to the continued growth in Maricopa. And I know there's been additional innovation outside of Maricopa County in Yavapai, and I want to thank you, Mayor Mangarelli, coming here from Prescott. Tell us what's going on in Yavapai.
Yeah, thank you, Governor. It's a great day to be in Arizona, and I agree with Mayor Price. As I look around the country, I'm so glad I live in Arizona. The way you've reopened the state, the way you're freeing up these dollars, the flexibility, cutting out bureaucracy, which is in line with who you've always been as a governor, to try to make it easier for business to do business. So I appreciate that. Thanks again for the input. We have a lot of small family-owned mom and pop shops, and they were so grateful to get started and reopen. They're very conscientious, hardworking. They want to earn an honest living and do the right thing, and that's kind of what we're hearing here around the room. I think in terms of these dollars, we're predicting that revenues are going to be down. We all know that, 10, 20%, whatever it might be. But rather than replacing those dollars, we really want to start some projects with long-term economic benefit. I'm bullish on Arizona and bullish on Prescott, Arizona especially. And I think now is the time that we really look long-term at how can we stimulate the economy to really create those jobs that we're missing right now. And so that's what we'll be looking at. We have a couple projects on the shelf that we'd like to implement. We just haven't had the funds to do that. So that's probably what we'll be doing with these dollars moving forward. But we're excited about the summer. We have a lot of tourism like Kingman. We've seen a lot of people over Memorial Day weekend. We're planning the 133rd World's Oldest Rodeo this summer to celebrate our independence and freedom, which we all love in Prescott, Arizona. So thanks for your leadership and partnership. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mayor Mangarelli. I know how many people love to get out of the heat and get up to Prescott, and I think you've got the world's largest father and son golf tournament teeing off this weekend as well. So I think it's going to be a lot of people participating in that. I want to thank all of our local leaders here, our mayors and our citizens. And so many of you mentioned how responsible they've been, how committed they've been during this public health crisis. We're getting on the other side of this pandemic. There is a lot of work to do still around public health. Of course, the issues that we're going to have to deal with our mutual budgets as we grow out of this, and then bringing our economy and our schools back. And I'm looking forward to working in a continued partnership with all the leaders across our state and citizens to do what's best for the state of Arizona. And with that, we can open it up for some questions. Go ahead and get it started, Patrick.
We'll start on that end with Billy. Go ahead. Thank you, Billy Harposh, iHeartRadio. Governor, this question's for you and any of the other leaders in the room. Those are huge numbers up there. It's a lot of money. I've heard the word flexibility a lot from all of you. I think that people would appreciate some transparency as to who is exactly deciding how this money gets allocated, how it's going to trickle down to the public and the small businesses.
So thank you, Billy. It's a good question. You're right. These are large numbers, and we wanted to make sure that they got out to the local leaders so that they could make their decisions. We are not going to lord over them as the state in terms of what decisions they make. What Mayor Jen Daniels has in Gilbert is going to be different than what's needed in Prescott, Arizona. So they will have the flexibility at the local level to make those decisions. And I'm going to let them speak as to what they're going to do and who's going to consult with them in terms of the distribution. And they all have different ideas as to where those dollars are going to go as well. So I'll open it up to the mayors and supervisors.
So I know for us, we're going to, on June 11th, we'll be taking recommendations from our city and staff, and we'll have a work session to specifically talk about how can we best implement these dollars to serve our Chandler community and to stimulate businesses.
So in Newman County, I spoke with the county manager last week on this subject, not knowing exactly how anything is going to be designed, and it is brilliantly designed with maximum flexibility for us. And so my idea is, what I believe we'll do is we'll put together a panel or a committee and seek public input. And so we can have, it's not just the elected officials making all the decisions. Of course, we'll make the final decisions, but I want to take input from our community to find out where the greatest need is, where can we most wisely apply those dollars. And so, and nothing will be hidden. I mean, it's all done in public, and there will be full transparency at the end of the day.
Anybody else?
In the city of Peoria, we have already put together a small business task force and a small business advisory committee. And so we're taking information from both of those different organizations in different ways and seeing how we can put that to work. What are their specific needs for their specific types of industries? And it's a cross-section of industries in Peoria. And so we want to know what they need, and we will designate a portion of this funding specifically for grants and loans. And we will get that out into the marketplace as quickly as we possibly can to meet the needs that they have.
One thing that I think is positive, and this was the input directly from the mayors, was that they have specific needs and differing needs depending on where they are in the state. I get to visit with all the governors from across the country, and in many of these settings, the governors are running the small business loans or grants out of the governor's office. Arizona is a big state with a lot of growing cities, a lot of really new cities. And I thought that the mayors and the supervisors were better equipped to make that decision, so they're going to have that flexibility.
Governor, I would just agree with that only because we're a relatively young city. I think we're the 5th youngest in Arizona. We haven't been hit. Tourism isn't really big for us. So through our business navigation team and reaching out to the different businesses, I think we'll be using it in a much different way than maybe a Bisbee or a Tombstone that really has got hit hard from the tourism. So that flexibility will come in very handy for the different towns.
Thanks, Tom.
Do a different question. We'll go to Joshua from the Republic, and then we'll go to Melissa from ABC 15.
Hi, Governor. I was hoping you could expound a little bit on whether or not this will be distributed per capita or whether it will be up to each locale to apply individually, and why this isn't the full $1.86 billion figure that I've seen around the past couple of weeks.
Thank you, Joshua. Good question. We're using the same formula that the Treasury Department has used to distribution to the states based on the 2019 census. The reason that it's not the full amount is there are going to be needs that are yet unforeseen at the state level. We're all trying to get a handle on our revenues and where our economy is. But we wanted to make certain that we had enough that we could continue to pay and replenish our unemployment insurance benefits.
So as far as application goes, is this something where each locale will have to apply to your office or to the CARES fund directly? Or?
There will be no application necessary. I mean, the dollars we're going to work through the budget office and distribute these dollars.
Melissa?
Governor, what is the breakdown of the $441 million per person for the rest of the state? And how does that compare to like Phoenix, which got $183 per person directly from the Treasury? And do any of the city leaders and the county leaders feel like they're getting less and that's a detriment to their community versus these big cities?
We used the same formula. I don't know if you're aware of the total round number. I know the $441 million number. I think Gilbert's $29 million. Is that accurate?
It is. So Gilbert's going to be receiving $29.2 million from this fund. And really what that means to our residents is probably different than what it means to a Phoenix resident. So I don't like comparing cities to each other. It doesn't help any of us to do that. It does help us, though, when we can prioritize and allocate the funds directly to meet the needs of our residents and our businesses. So that's our focus, and we try really hard not to make comparisons. We all add a different flavor to the state, and it's all of us together that makes the biggest difference.
Mitch from 12, you go next. Governor, I noticed who's here. You've taken pains to make sure we know everybody who's here. They've had a chance to speak. We appreciate that. Noticing who's not here, though, there's nobody here from Pinal County, and that's a county that has made noise with their board of supervisors and with their county attorney about suing the state for more dispersal, similar to this. So, was their exclusion from this event intentional, and was their lawsuit, is that going to prevent them at all from getting any money?
I'll take it.
I will, yeah, but why do you, wait, the question was that there's no one here from Pinal County.
No.
What county is the city of Maricopa in, Christian? Okay, I was just curious. I thought it was, hey, can I answer the question?
Yes, I would love
Okay. There's no lawsuit necessary. The funds are distributed. Next question.
Governor, let's talk about why it took so long. It's been 2 months since residents signed this bill, sent $1.9 billion specifically for these type of uses to you. You've sat on it for 2 months. Now you're giving 25% of it or 30% of it to the cities and sitting on the rest. So help us understand why the delay, why we have people like Pinal County upset, and why you're not giving them.
This is a significant amount of money, Bob, which we get to spend once. We wanted to do it the right way. We wanted input from local leaders as to what was needed. And we also wanted to have some idea around our revenues in Arizona, where our economy was. And we met last week, I think it was, late last week, and was able to hear the direction from the mayors and county supervisors. We then had a line of sight to the amount of dollars that we could put forward, and also what we thought was a best practice. We also wanted to make sure that we had the proper flexibility from Treasury and the guidelines from the federal government, which has been expanded over the last several weeks. So we're able to spend these dollars once, but today or tomorrow, they'll be in the mayor's and the county supervisors' hands. And I've always thought that the government that governs best is the government that's closest to the people, and they'll be able to make the final decisions for what's needed in their community.
Let me ask the governor, follow up a little bit on what Bob said. Out of 1.9, we're giving out a percentage. How much of this are you reserving for the state, for your office, whether it's unemployment or anything else? Are you saving some of what you thought was supposed to go out to the cities for the states?
We're not reserving anything for my office. We are going to have needs at the state level. We have over 500,000 people that have filed for unemployment insurance benefits. Those are dollars that need to be replenished at the state level. It can come in a number of ways. These dollars are eligible to help pay unemployment benefits if necessary. We're looking forward to starting to move people off the unemployment rolls and onto the employment rolls, but you also need to have some kind of balance and replenishment in that fund to avoid additional taxes on Arizona small businesses, and we want to do that as well.
Okay. The other half of the question is my understanding that these dollars, 441, is earmarked for public safety and health. I hear mayors here talking about aid to small businesses and everything else. That sounds like a little bit of squishability to me. So explain to me how you use public safety dollars to help small business.
We are looking at the public health and safety budget at the local and county level. We are making that budget payment for them, and they can take the available funds that have been supplanted and use them what's best in their community.
Go to Dennis next.
I just want to follow up a little bit on that. Mesa, Phoenix, Tucson receive some of their money. With some of that, they're using this to help with homelessness, pay for rental assistance, food assistance, things like that. This money, are these smaller cities in town able to use that money for those types of programs?
Yes.
Will they?
Well, you can ask the local cities and towns.
The answer is yes. The answer is
Will
yes,
they be able
absolutely.
to use this money to back up any lost revenue due to the stay-at-home order? I mean, sales taxes took a big hit. Will they be able to use that?
These dollars will be COVID-19 related.
Ben, so I have a question. Different, of course, your governor. The mayor of Scottsdale was pretty upset about some of the crowds that he saw, particularly in Old Town over Memorial Day weekend. Scottsdale police have said we don't have the authority to enforce social distancing, safety measures, or anything like that. Given the orders that you've given at the state level, is there any teeth left that you've provided for local law enforcement to actually enforce people to keep a safe distance and protect each other?
So I want to begin by just saying how thankful I am to the citizens of Arizona for how responsible that they've been. We're going to have a public health briefing later this week. I'm going to be able to share with you where we are in terms of the trajectories and symptoms and cases and hospital capacity as well as where we are on testing. I'll give a little bit of foreshadowing. It's going to be more good news in terms of where Arizona is. Mayor Lane did speak out on the situation in Scottsdale, and every local leader has that opportunity to speak out. I also have had some of the leaders of different authorities reach out and say they're responding on a complaint-based priority, and they've been able to also assist with this. And I know that they'll continue to do that.
Were you pleased with thousands of people in Old Town Scottsdale?
I'm pleased with the people of Arizona. I know there are always going to be situations that you guys want to focus on every time we get together, rather than the millions and millions of people in our state that are behaving responsibly.
Okay, but I think places where they may not be responsible, right? All those people that are in Old Town Scottsdale eventually make it out to other places.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up, because everybody here understands that. Okay, the objective here is that we slow the spread of a virus. We have public health numbers that I showed you every week and post every day at 9 a.m. at azhealth.gov. Arizona's headed in the right direction. Thank you to the citizens.
But Governor, I think you're missing the point in terms of Ben's question here. You have authority to tell businesses what they can do under your executive orders. The ability to tell Bob and I to stay 6 feet apart does not exist, which is what the cities are asking for. Why won't you give local...
I want to say again that I'm grateful. Our law enforcement leaders have used education and communication to achieve this successful result to date, and I'm thankful to them.
We're going to go to people who haven't had a chance to ask a question. Antonia, go ahead, and we have to wrap it up.
Governor, would you be willing to, I know that other places, for example, with Resort Pool, where we saw those large crowds over the weekend as well, there's a recommendation that they self-quarantine. Would you be willing to recommend the same for the large crowd that we saw here in our state?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Kara Christ on any quarantine orders that would be necessary. This would be something that would be left more to an epidemiologist or a public health expert. What my goal has been is that we get our arms around the public health crisis that was in front of us, make sure that we have the capacity to care and comfort for anyone that is sick and ailing, and we are able to do that today in Arizona. Now we're in the process of safely and successfully reopening our economy, and I want everyone in Arizona to know that if you are outside of those risk factors of having an underlying chronic health condition or comorbidities, that Arizona is safely and squarely of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Phase 1, and it is safe for you to go out and take a loved one to eat, to go shopping, to visit one of our retail establishments.
We'll take one more question from someone who hasn't had a chance. Well, that's about the time we have, guys. We appreciate it. As we talked about,
trying to get the Republican National Convention to come here to speak.
The president is welcome in Arizona anytime he would like to come. This is the president's sole decision, and I expect him to make the decision that's in the best interest of the election cycle and the electoral map.